Welcome back to Selling Circular, the podcast dedicated to exploring the innovative minds and business models shaping our transition to a circular economy. I'm Garr Punnett, CEO of LoopLayer.
I'm Sabira Lakhani, VP of Product at SpareTech. Today we're chatting about the fascinating intersection of tech, sustainability, and fashion with our guest Nancy Rhodes. She's the founder and CEO of Alternew. Nancy brings a unique perspective to the circular economy conversation because she has like 17 years of experience as a footwear designer, and she had like an early sustainability vision that was linking tailoring shops to more opportunities of repair, returns, and garment augmentation. It was like getting more out of our garments.
Yeah, I mean, this journey into that idea is the fun part, where really this starts with that deep fashion supply chain knowledge, because she's built products for major names like Beyonce, Kenneth Cole, working with mass retailers like Costco, Target, TJ Maxx. And as we've seen, is sort of a theme here that's developing is people who take trips to China tend to come back and go, okay, there's a lot of volume, and she's had over 50 trips to China, which is sort of giving her firsthand insight into how maybe broken our current fashion system reality is. But rather than accepting that status quo, Nancy is really just trying to modernize now fashion's new care and repair ecosystem. And so that's really what she's bringing with Alternew.
Alternew is what Nancy calls a B2B2C solution that connects three crucial stakeholders: brands looking to reduce returns and increase customer loyalty, consumers who want perfect fitting clothes, and the 4.1 million registered tailors and makers across the US who are kind of invisible in today's digital economy. It's hard to find them. I don't think I realized this, that most of fashion returns are due to poor fit.
Yeah, I was just having actually a fascinating conversation with somebody in the manufacturing industry, and this is going to be back of the envelope knowledge. This is just off the top of his head, but he was telling me, he's like, yeah, most of what you will see in terms of talent that can sew and repair and actually work on these garments are either over 60, or of migrant populations. And so there's this really interesting dynamic in the industry that maybe ultimately you're trying to connect those knowledgeable players in the industry to that demand, and how do you do that? And so that's what makes Nancy's approach particularly interesting, is how she's thinking about democratizing that access to that tailoring service talent pool. So she's not just building another marketplace, but she's kind of building what she's calling the AI co-pilot that's finding the right product to the right tailor at the right time and the right price point, which is critical in that relationship.
And we recorded this conversation with Nancy during a interesting and exciting time for Alternew. Nancy had just completed the prestigious ERA Tech Accelerator in New York. She has signed partnerships with companies like Tersus. We talked to Peter on our podcast last season.
Great company.
Now she's in the middle of launching consumer campaigns and brand partnerships that are showing real results. They've diverted their first return, and instead of processing a costly return, a customer got to choose the fit of their garment instead of giving it back.
Proving that model. So that's where we get to really pick up this conversation early in this complex exploration of the economics, the multi-sided marketplace, the cultural shift that needs to take essentially more adoption towards more tailoring and make that even more mainstream, and how Nancy is thinking about scaling a business that touches everything from luxury brands to neighborhood tailors, which those are some fun dots to connect. So let's jump into our conversation with Nancy Rhodes, founder and CEO of Alternew. So I was particularly interested in talking about Alternew because you were dealing with two things that I find difficult that are fun to talk about. One is you're dealing with potentially potentially, no offense to anyone out there, antiquated business model set. So tailors, which are now either potentially retiring and a new generation of tailors are looking for new digital solutions, or tailors that are like, we're good. We've got our set things, but maybe there's always more technologies to offer them. And then on the other side, you have a nice, complex group of stakeholders, which is consumers, which is technology, and then which is brands that you are also trying to help.
So let's start with what you said about this being an antiquated, very fragmented industry. So let me actually start with what we are. Alternew is really a B2B2C AI-enabled marketplace helping brands, customers, and tailors. So brands retain customers by providing this after-sales service, by providing these after-sales services that increase incremental sales, reduce returns, drive loyalty. Customers now get a perfect fit. They know the brand has their back, literally, providing these services, knowing them after the sale, and not just giving them more to buy, but telling them, we're not just going to work with you through the sale, but beyond it. And then tailors are getting access to new business through these brand partnerships. So instead of one for one, they're getting a whole brand partnerships worth of customers. And then they start to understand the kind of clothes that brand has. And so they become an expert in very specific needs that that brand has. So that is what we are doing, who we are doing it for, and why it's important. We believe that this is a next innovation that is ripe, right? Like you have OpenTable, ZocDoc, Airbnb. They all took these fragmented, antiquated industries, modernized them through technology. You speak to the fragmentation, you speak to the antiquation, but you have all of these different opportunities where it's not going away. It is actually an opportunity to continue to support and help this underserved and undervalued industry thrive at a point at which they're ready to come to the next chapter.
And I love that that next chapter is also sustainability, is circular economy. And that next chapter is dovetailing nicely into, hey, I want to get more out of my clothing, either better fit, but then also going back for repair, going back for those types of services as well. And I'm sure that sort of wraps up all of this as well.
I got my bachelor's in sustainability. I was a footwear designer for 17 years. I built product for Beyonce, for Kenneth Cole. Most of my career has been spent building for Costco, Target, Marshalls, TJ Maxx. I've been to China 50 times. I've seen the supply chain. I've seen how broken it is. And for me, sustainability is not about an add-on. It's about design efficiencies that create longevity as well as loyalty and support. And so what is Alternew except exactly that? It is literally intrinsically sustainable to not just extend the life of your products, but support your customers through the experience.
Do you worry about, in the world of fast fashion and like the average, the way that the fashion industry has evolved, is your like total market too small in the sense that like you are only getting a slice of customers who are willing to invest in goods that are worth repairing? And how has that kind of influenced your thinking of who is coming to the table?
Don't get me wrong. Like this is a question I get all the time. And fast fashion is a huge portion of what we buy. And that could be a whole different conversation that would take up the whole time. What I will say is that there are 75,000 premium and luxury brands in the US, and there are 4.5 million registered tailors and makers. There are enough tailors and there are enough brands to support this industry into a multi-billion-dollar business, and yet all we talk about is fast fashion. And what I would say is that Primark offers support in internal repair services. Target is doing digital product passports. H&M has a repair page on their site. These are technically fast fashion brands that are offering after-sales services. And so it is almost going to be required that these brands offer these services. But doing it internally is really expensive. The infrastructure is hard to manage. And if they want to build their own tech, that just creates an add-on layer with maintenance. And we all know retail well enough to know that change management is hard. So like providing a third party to help, not just in building the tech to support, but also building marketing initiatives. How can we help brands by taking their garments teaching consumers how to fix a button specifically on the garment of that brand, putting that onto their landing page, connecting with their customers, and then saying, hey, do you need something tailored? We actually have a tailor you can go to in your neighborhood. We might not have a store there, but you can go there. And then we're getting the data back on what's being done, how often. And not only does that help us know our clothing and our customers better, but it also helps us be more predictive in future decisions we make as a brand from the design level.
Yeah. I've actually had one good experience in thinking about this in the warranty space with Delsey, the bag maker, and they on their website provide a map of where you can avail the warranty if something were to go wrong. So there's a local, 10 minutes away, there is a bag shop that also does footwear and bag repair. And I was able to just walk in, didn't really have to pay anything. I got the thing done and I left feeling, thank you, Delsey. That's great. And so I'm imagining that similar type of experience that you're describing, kind of bringing all the parties together. Is that going to be the workflow for the consumer, or is it going to be something else that you imagine because there's like that digital step involved?
No, that's actually
first?
Exactly it. And except that you're going to reduce the friction on you having to call the brand, asking what it is, submit something. You're going to be able to integrate, like today it's maybe there's an online form, or we understand what the product is because it has a digital product passport on it. And we're starting to partner with some of these DPPs to be able to be that repair part of it. But to your point, some of the barriers in terms of investors have been like, well, what you're saying is I go to a store, I get something, and then I have to go to a tailor. Like it doesn't just happen there. And my reply is that's actually an opportunity. Like the people we're speaking to today are already going to the tailor. They're your best customers. The people who buy things full price and go to the tailor, those are your best customers. You should know who they are and you should support them. The customers who are calling to ask about care and repair of your items, those are the customers you want to continue to support because they'll continue to buy from you because they're obviously interested in longevity. And most of these brands, especially luxury brands, longevity is their value proposition. That is what they're selling to you. So all to say, yes, that's it. And that is what we are doing.
I mean, in that, I love that you're talking about, again, and Sabira, this speaks exactly to what you were saying, which is that relationship between the consumer and the brand, the coveted relationship that says, we have you, Nancy, to your point, we have your back. In that origination, in the beginning stages of that relationship, I think I saw a point from you that said that 70% of all clothing returns tend to be from poor fit. And I'm sure there's a great report out there. Maybe we can link it when we find it. But ultimately, I love that idea that is probably also helping brands say, hey, did this not fit just right? Well, don't return it. How can we help you make sure this fits perfectly? Where did you start to identify that as a potential economic value pain point?
That's such a great question, actually, because it really is when you turn into kind of market sizing and understand who you're speaking to and how you're getting investment and who's investing in it. Returns are this huge problem. And so, and that's what we say to fit.
Yes.
And so there's all these logistics providers doing all of these things to help with the actual engagement of returns. But there's no one actually solving the problem, right? They're treating the symptoms. They're putting Band-Aids on. Even in our deck, we're like treating the symptoms. And we throw a Band-Aid on that $200 billion spend that brands are spending on returns and churn of their products. So how we see it is there's something to be said for AI sizing, for continued iteration based on feedback. But this is quantitative after sales data that doesn't exist today, that I would say is the most important thing. If a brand offers free tailoring, let's say, and they know that a certain amount of their customers get something tailored to a certain length, all of a sudden, instead of making 17 different lengths, they know they actually just have these couple different lengths and they can kind of do inventory optimization on that, right? And so, and I continue on more of the predictive insights, but all to say, returns are genuinely just part of the after sales journey, right? And so it's not just massive returns, it's massive churn. It's that you as a customer, brands are spending up to $130 to get you into their store and buy something. whether it's through marketing or social media or events or discounts, whatever that is, getting you into the store and to buy something. But then remember, a whole bunch of other brands are spending the same amount. So there's no reason for you to have this loyalty. And then let's say, well, we truly say that it's our product that differentiates us. Is it your product that differentiates it? Because I just went to the factory and they're just like shipping it out to Shein on the side. I mean, probably not. Do not, I am genuinely on the record, but don't hold me to that. But having said that, there are other ways to support your customer beyond just a product. And don't get me wrong, product is so important. That's what drives business, but it's those after sales experiences that create a loyal customer and reduce your CAC.
There's nothing I love more than that type of experience as a consumer. Like, I mean, that's where it's like once in whatever sort of facet I'm trying to engage with a brand, one that almost reciprocates to me, I'm like, oh, you've got me. And it's like, and it's because, again, I think there's a lot of efforts on buying better, buying higher quality, investing in pieces that I think a generation is starting to really embrace further. Sabira, do you mind? I'm going to double down real quickly on that because I liked your Band-Aid language on what you were saying is actually needing to be the fix. And where I see that and what I'm kind of fascinated by to play with live is it's actually a part of almost the reduce function of reducing sort of the need to purchase another thing or engage in that impactful act of sending it back. Where that goes from there, we've also done a lot of research on it. We all know that sometimes that doesn't just enter back on the shelves, that is a reducing type of activity that can actually have a much greater impact on those return numbers.
I like to say it's not even that we're reducing returns, we're diverting returns. We're turning returns into not returns. Right? Like, because reducing returns is what, and I know it's language, but it means something, right? Yeah.
I see exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
But having said
that,
I think I didn't answer as effectively as I could have around how we thought about returns. And so I just want to kind of double click on that for a second, which is, so we went through Tech Accelerator, ERA. They're kind of a prestigious New York tech accelerator. They give a very large check to their brand, to their companies, and also a 4-month accelerator. And if anyone has been in an accelerator, they know it is just like the most 4 months you'll ever have in your whole life. But what we were doing is having these discovery calls with brands. So we were, I think, in the matter of 3 weeks, had like 70 calls with different brands, from going into a store to their chief sustainability officer, to their CEO, to their retail ops, like whoever we could talk to, we were asking these open-ended questions around what challenges they had. Because at that time, we weren't necessarily trying to solve return, we were trying to solve loyalty. And loyalty meaning that, let's look at Nordstrom. Nordstrom is the highest employer of tailors in the US. There's a reason for that. They know that they're offering these services, and I could say it's reducing returns and all these things, and I know that now, but then it was like increased loyalty. Patagonia has a cult following and does like incredible events all around the country, like for free repairs, and they understand the value in this. Great. So cool. We go into these open-ended conversations. What are you looking to do this year? What are your biggest goals? And what are your biggest challenges? And so we're talking a lot of sustainability, people thinking, okay, they're going to tell us it's sustainability, it's loyalty, it's connecting with consumers. Their big questions were profitability, reducing returns, done. Like whatever you can do. And one of the things around returns was that nobody owns returns. So it's a big problem, but because nobody owns it, you have to go into a brand and say, if we do well with the initiative that we're supporting, you get a raise, you get a promotion, right? Like, how are we helping you grow through what we're doing? And one of the things with returns is that while it is number one need, it is fragmented across the brand in ownership. So I just want to add that caveat of absolutely that's the problem we're solving. Absolutely it's a huge problem to solve. And absolutely it is also a hard solve for brands because that function is fragmented across each division.
Yeah, actually, when I was thinking about the examples, Nordstrom didn't come to mind to me as somebody who's already offering the service. And I was actually thinking about Uniqlo, and I was going to make a statement that I had observed Uniqlo offering in store or just tailoring services, and then they stopped. But while we were talking, I Googled it, they still seem to offer it. So as a consumer, I actually thought it went away. I didn't know that Nordstrom offered tailoring service. So can you say a little bit about like are brands marketing this well? Are they actually doing it? And if they're not, like where is the problem in even offering the service?
I think you have to speak to so you have tailoring as it is today, and repairs and all of these things. Uniqlo, incredible brand. I did a case study of them in my master's program. This is kind of a lot of like what drives this like Japanese brand that is supporting consumers through the entire experience, creating connections. Having said that, your marketing team is only as successful as what consumers are either one, engaging with, or two, driving sales. I've seen that some brands with internal repairs and tailoring, you look at Levi's, you look at Nordstrom, you look at Uniqlo, there are cycles. So like you can see if they have like a marketing cycle of having an event at the store with their tailoring, great, or with their repair. If you have some sort of VIP service, so if you're looking at joining a VIP service and they say if you're a VIP, you get 2 free repairs a year. All of these are driving value, but they become kind of an exclusive, if you know, you know. I can't give you much more than that I know from my own experience, but there are all these different ways in which brands are connecting with their customers through these after sales experiences while not having it be the top function always.
Well, I think that's to unpack that too. I mean, tell me where I'm wrong with this. I'm going to take a stab
I'm here
at
for
kind
it.
of unpacking consumer behavior. Yeah. Yeah, which is and I think which is why I'm so particularly interested in Alternew, which is when we're thinking about the consumer behavior of maybe a higher income, higher earning type of individual who's shopping at a Nordstrom, who's going and saying, "Oh, I have the time to go to shop in brick and mortar. I'm going to go enjoy that experience." And then if something needs to be altered, I'll drop it off at the on-site type of tailor that might be in that location. Now, these Nordstroms are going to be at centralized locations, likely away from neighborhoods. So right there, we have this consumer that has an ability to interact with a tailor that maybe a larger consumer base doesn't. And so then from there, we have the neighborhood tailors. And the neighborhood tailors service the needs of the local communities and are there for convenience, are there for the interaction of the 15-minute walk away of that someone you found in the neighborhood. And so what I love in that is that's clearly speaking to, on the Nordstrom side, their labor economics are based on that type of interaction. It's going to be that bespoke type model. And on the other side, the labor equation is going to be based on the convenience act. And they tend to be, as I've seen them, kind of overwhelmed sometimes. And they get a lot more traction because they often have that neighborhood type of economic model where they're just going to get the walk-ins. And so I think in that aspect, then you have the other group of consumers who don't know anything about any of this and are now going to be really needing guidance on saying, I have this brand I love, where do I go? And they don't know about Nordstrom and they're not shopping at Nordstrom because that's going to carry a certain brands that maybe people like or don't like, but they're going to want to know this brand I like, help me. And then that's where that neighborhood type of tailor comes into this because that's the local connection.
Remember there's a Nordstrom
Where did that break down?
Right? Like they've actually seen the value in providing a local tailor. And so they've expanded their offering to have Nordstrom locals.
I didn't know that.
Which aren't actually a full store, but you can have things shipped to a Nordstrom local. You can get tailoring done. Mind you, if you get something, and I believe this is true, again, don't quote me on it, that if you get something tailored that is not from Nordstrom, you will pay a premium on it at a Nordstrom local. The other thing I will say is these tailors are overwhelmed because They have no technology helping them manage their operations. When we were building Alternew,
It's a lot of paper and pen still that I've seen
it
at my
is,
local.
but there's a lot of paper and pen. There's also a lot of like attempts for structure, people using Square, people using dry cleaning technology, but it's all
Yep.
fitting kind of a square peg in a round hole. And so we actually started by launching a tech for tailors. So that helped us understand that there's proprietary data that just doesn't exist today, so we can match the right product to the right tailor. And really what our special sauce is and what will help us to scale is that we are an AI co-pilot that's helping brands, customers, and tailors connect. So think about knowing the right tailor at the right place for the right product and all in the right timing of when you need it, which means it might be that you're chatting with, Stitch, your co-pilot, and you're saying, I need this item tailored and I need it tailored tomorrow. Okay, well, here's where you can go down the street. They can do it by tomorrow, but it's going to cost you this much, which is a premium on what it would usually cost because it's surge pricing based on your rush needs. Okay, I have a fur coat of my grandmother's that I'm looking to get refurbished. Well, you can go in New York and you can go to this place and this is how much it will cost. But there's a place in Wisconsin that you can ship it to. It's going to take a few weeks, but it's going to be half the price. Are you interested in doing that? So how can we start with the data that we have, building this co-pilot to support brands, customers, and tailors have access? Well, I hate saying the word because everyone abuses it, but democratizing access to this part of the industry.
Good. Yes. I think my quick follow-up to that is we get into the business model pretty quickly. I mean, when we're talking about this multi-sided market where you're trying to build something that aligns with the value that you're generating, there's value being generated for the brand, there's value being generated for the tailor, there's value being generated for the consumer. This is the fun. Where do you envision you plug in this equation, and to what degree do you start? And then where do you see your monetization going further?
So today we are a B2B2C marketplace. So brands are paying a monthly SaaS fee. Tailors are paying a referral fee only on the business that we bring them. We are building out a model today to provide a freemium model for brands. So basically, brands can get up to a certain amount of matches for free. And what that helps us do is, let's get you used to using this product. Let's get you used to providing this service. Let's let you understand the value in this. What we charge for during this time is, do you want any marketing consultations? Do you want to have some before and afters? Do you want to have what I was talking about with, Madewell does it and Patagonia does it and Nudie does it, like these web tutorials that tell you how to repair your own items, getting to see before and afters on someone having a great tailoring experience. All of that we're providing marketing consultation on. And that helps us to not only support the brand who's already wanting to educate their customer on this, because mind you, we have 30 brands in our pipeline. These brands are interested in doing this. And I think anyone who has tried to work with brands understands this. There's so many stakeholders involved, so they don't know how to move forward. And so if we can just start with saying, we can help you drive awareness and education that's really fun and engaging with the customer that is coming from your marketing budget, that's a quick win for them. And then if we can use that to drive our actual product, okay, now we can have a product embedded in there so that they can connect with a tailor. Great. And then beyond a certain amount, that's when we can start charging for, okay, more than this many, we're going to charge you for the data we're providing so that you can have those predictive insights. Do you want a dashboard for each of your stores? So every store associate knows exactly what's being done and when it's being done and being able to connect to their customer because of it. So that's what we're building today. On the tailor side, we want to save them as much margin as possible, with the goal being that we're saying we want to be able to build tech for you that you can not only use for us bringing you customers, but beyond. So today we only want to charge them on the business that we're bringing them. And then finally for customers, I mean, would love to see some sort of subscription model, but I think it's going to come through warranty services with brands coming through us. I don't think a customer is ever going to necessarily pay that they know of. And I say that because we all know anything we charge to the
That's the
brand,
fun
anything
part.
we charge to the tailor is going to
get passed on. Well, while you were talking, I was thinking about culture. Like the technology is going to help friction on all sides. But I was in India when I go and get Indian clothes, or even like I got a linen set made custom to my body shape, right? And the design that I wanted. And I have gone back to the same tailor because I really loved her work. But there it is part of the culture too, and part of it is the labor economics of it, right? Like tailors are readily available, and the like fashion is much more custom, I think, and has historically been much more custom than the US and West have been. And so I'm curious, like, what do you think it takes to get to the tipping point so that the culture shifts where we like come to expect tailoring and like custom fit as part of our everyday buying experience?
Well, that already too, just to throw this in here, I don't understand how people don't like to get things tailored. So even just in that aspect, I know there's an additional cost, but just the way you look and feel is just...
Yeah, it's cost and it's work too.
And
yeah.
not
Well, that is work,
like
yes.
what we like to say is clothes are mass-produced, bodies are not. So how can we support customers? Because some customers, like, they actually find something that's way too big and they're like, this is perfect for me. And I always tell people when we talk about this, is like, it's not you fitting into clothes. It's clothes fitting to you, whatever that means to you, right? Like it's more important that you feel comfortable. If that means you're getting something tailored, great. If not, fine. So it's funny because I was on Bloomberg TV a couple weeks ago talking about tariffs, and I went on and I'm thinking this is going to be this hard hitting piece on speaking to the tailwinds for the circular economy businesses through the tariff infrastructure that was happening a few weeks ago. Right before I get on, it was Scarlett and Matt looks at me. He goes, I love what you're doing. And I immediately was like, oh, I know what's happening. He's like, look at me. And he puts his arms out, his full wingspan. He's like, my arms are so big. And it's always my favorite conversation to have, because when you know, like the second I say it, either someone's like this, and I know they've either not gotten tailoring done or only done it for suits, but this guy who's like, let me tell you every issue I had. So we get on, and he just starts going like, these are the issues I have. There's this guy in my town. He's the only guy. He charges me, like, so stressed out. And he asked me the same question. Like, his question was around pricing, and pricing is around accessibility, and accessibility is around reduced friction points. So what I said to him is, you just talked about your one guy that you know because someone told you and someone told you. As soon as you start creating variety through access to more tailors, like with 4.5 million tailors, that is a lot of tailors who exist that are not getting any marketing, because it's all going to like, I know someone and I told them about something. There's no way to actually find anyone. There's no open table version that's marketing. You have Google and Yelp, which are like wildly ineffective for this part of the industry. They're great for what they are, but by no means are they adding value to these no-name tailors that should get access. So having said that, once you start to provide this access to multiple, let's say there's another guy in the town. Let's say, okay, well, where do you work? We can help you find someone there that's going to be a reduced cost for what you need, and these are the clothes they work with, et cetera. And then once that happens, you build the variety, and that reduces the pricing, because then you have saturation of choice. So that is the tipping point. At the point at which we have saturation of choice, you will not get tailors looking you up and down and deciding what they want to charge you. And I say that like with full respect. Every industry, when it's antiquated. And so I want to value the artisanship these people bring, because then there are people who are like, I went to Chinatown and I got charged $10 for something that took them an hour. And I'm like, well, technically they were charging you less than minimum wage. So they need to start increasing their prices. And then you have the guy who's like, you need this button fixed, that will be
Yes.
$20. Absolutely not. It took you approximately 2 minutes. Like $5 is good, like convenience fee. I'm adding a little bit extra because like how are we going to do $2.74 for your button? They have to kind of sit down, they have to do it, whatever. But how do you start to learn that? You do it through AI and learning these behaviors and understanding the needs. So that's my pricing soapbox.
Well, in all of that, I think that's where what I am curious about is, maybe I'm wrong here, but at least some of the research that I was finding was around, and it kind of fits along with broader craft-based working professions, which is that it is on the decline. And that over time, over probably the next 20 years, we're going to see more and more of a decline of those professions continue to be turned over to a next generation who maybe isn't interested in taking over mom and dad's shop, or isn't interested, or even neighborhoods in general are just maybe losing that shop. This I see as a way to help potentially increase or even create more efficiencies around that. Am I seeing that correctly? Because I think there's something to then helping the broader generation that is coming up next to say, hey, we're going to get you better workflows. We're going to get you a better stream of consumers. We're going to connect you with major brands. That's where am I off on that? Is there something to that?
The alterations market, when you look at like the CAGR, it is starting. I'm not going to give an exact number because it actually changes regularly. It keeps increasing because there is this interest in Gen Z in like DIY, tailoring. Like I hear anecdotally so much in the next generation of wanting to care and repair for their items. You have secondhand growing, you know, more than regular e-com. Again, I don't want to give numbers because at one point it was like 21% over, and now I think it's somewhere around that, but these huge numbers. So if you're looking at that, it's organically growing whether or not we bring modernization to it. But what we can do is accelerate and increase the size of the pie. So an example would be Shopify.
I mean, that's so interesting.
Shopify got so many no's, and I don't know if you guys know this story. Like, I think they're such a great example because they got so many no's in Silicon Valley as they were like, you know, going on the hill or whatever they call it. And basically what they said is once they got those yeses, with every friction point they reduced, they increased the size of the pie. So our mission is how do we modernize fashion's care and repair? However that works. Like that is our mission, that is our vision, that is our North Star. So now we say, what are we doing about that? We believe today that is modern tools to support the connecting of these stakeholders. And I am still very confident that we will be able to prove that out. But having said that, there's ways in which we can do it that we're saying, okay, so we just partnered with Tersis. Tersis is a resale logistics supplier based in Denver. So they work with, and we were just in Denver all together, so I know you know them. So they work with,
and Peter was just in last season's interviews. So yes, go listen to Peter Wickham.
Several different brands, and so we may get a smaller piece of revenue working through the, you know, as a decentralized supplement as supporting their internal workflows, but for every extra care repair we do, we're increasing the full pie of access to repair. And so we're also partnering with a manufacturer. We just signed a contract actually yesterday with Gambert Manufacturing or Gambert Shirt Making. They're based in Newark, New Jersey. They work with over 200 different brands. They have a shirt restoration division. And so again, we're helping them not only improve their internal workflows and optimize their repair internally, but also be able to support as a decentralized supplement to their centralized systems. So we continue to feed into this idea of the more we saturate the market with opportunity, the more we can grow the pie.
To round us out in our time together, normally we ask a question about hope, but I'm thinking like, can you share a customer story that gives you hope, that shows that this all works?
Well, actually, one of my favorite stories recently was, I remember, so we launched our pilot with Verity, a couple months ago, and I was so excited because we diverted our first return. So a customer comes into the store. We were thinking we wouldn't actually divert any returns until we got into e-com because then it's really clean messaging. Hey, you're returning this. Is it because of poor fit? Great. one click, hey, do you want a tailor? This is your zip code. Here's a tailor near you. We'll pay for it. Do you want to go there? If you think about it, the brand is paying up to 60% of the cost of the garment to ingest it back. So it's cheaper for them to offer free tailoring than it is for them to actually ingest that item back. Having said that, this guy comes in the store. He says, I'm returning this. Oh, is there any reason? Oh, the arms are too long. Well, we actually offer this service. We have alterations. Here's where you can go. Here's where you can get it done. We'll send you a notification. He keeps it and he buys something else. So what? It happened, and it happened in store. So there are people who are willing to do that. So that was very exciting. We also have stories every day. We are the on-site tailors for the Manhattan Vintage. So this time, so a couple events we have coming up as a quick call to action so we're working the Manhattan Vintage Show this weekend. I do not think anyone will actually be listening by then. So I'm sorry, come to the next one. So that's May 16th through 18th. The next one is May 31st and may be past that too. So hope you enjoyed it. It was great. Yeah.
Keep looking it up. Keep looking up the next one.
Verity, we're doing an activation with them, drinks, fun, tailoring pop-up. June 3rd, we have a roundtable breakfast during Tech Week. June 5th, we have a happy hour at Anybag, which is the oldest leather manufacturer in New York. So we're basically building that dichotomy between tech and it being Tech Week and tradition. These artisan shops that a lot of these tech aficionados have never seen. So those are some of the things we have coming up. We also, beyond that, if you want to support and you want to be a success story, we have a consumer demand campaign right now. Basically, the idea being the tagline we have is dating is hard. Finding a tailor shouldn't be. The idea that we talk about dating, and I don't have to explain it. We all get it. Married, single, whatever you are. But you can actually sign up to be matched with a tailor and potentially get a $25 gift card through providing feedback on who you went to, how it was once we've been able to match you.
4 suits in my closet. I know which suit exactly I'm going to go to based on which tailor I took it to 5 years ago, because that tailor, he got me much better. He felt what I wanted more than the other tailor did. And so when that one's clean, it's my go-to suit because it's like he did exactly what he thought my body could work with, exactly what I asked for. And so I appreciate the matching with a tailor. This is what it's about. Find your match. And so that's very cool. And I look forward to...
That's not just like how they do it. It's vibe as well.
It is.
We're quantifying vibe here at Alternew.
The dating part, yes. The quantifying of vibe, tailoring, and matching, I'm all for it. Yes. Nancy, thank you so much. This was a pleasure to learn about Alternew, your thoughts on the industry. We look forward to seeing more and potentially even having you report back at some point in the future.